Name's Collin. I'm a producer and broadcast engineer for the university. Um, I'll explain that a little bit. Not everybody knows what that means. Start with the first side, producer. So I oversee our broadcast. I think that's the best way to say it. Decision maker when it comes to everything TV for ESPN Plus and all that for the university. So making decisions on camera placement, music, graphics, replays, all that stuff during a broadcast. The broadcast engineer is a little more technical. My undergrad didn't have what we have here, so it was more of a learn by doing kind of thing. So I was able to produce, direct, replay, all the imaginable things on the broadcast side, but also learn a lot of the more technical, fixing equipment, installing equipment, something a lot of schools pay a lot of money to have people do. So it benefits us as a university, and for the sports broadcasting, having myself on staff, and I think that talks a little highly of myself, which is kind of weird, but I provide a lot of things that we didn't have before I was here. I'm able to fix a lot of things. When we buy new equipment, I pretty much pick all of that, which helps. Give my suggestions on that, try to figure out the best way for us to spend our money. Past 2 years, we've gotten a good influx from the university side of things that has really helped us on the broadcasting side. Last year we bought our second big camera, a big box lens, 55x zoom. What that means is I can put a quarter on the basketball court from our crow's nest, zoom into it, and pretty much fill the screen with that quarter. It's pretty impressive what we can do with that technology. This summer we spent a good bit of money investing in NDI. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's more IP-based video production. We bought some PTZ cameras that work over NDI, some other things to help us be better, offer some things that we couldn't offer, especially in this COVID era where everything is so hands-off and socially distanced. It helps to have those technology pieces in place to kind of work around that and provide some solutions to people who need solutions at this point. Back to the producing side, that plays in with marketing a lot. I'm weekly in contact with Dan and his crew when it comes to TV timing, when it comes to football video board show. That's a big joint effort between our crew and marketing, making sure that show goes off without a hitch. I think that sums that up for the marketing side of things. Anybody have any questions about all that? No? Silence from everybody. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. A little background, I'm graduated from East Tennessee State, ETSU. It's up in Tennessee. Had to think about that too long. Then I worked at Old Appalachian State for a year. I know that's kind of the enemy here. I learned that very quickly. But that was fun, something I'd encourage to a lot of people is don't just try to work for one place all your life. You need some experiences. Coming out of college, I was afforded 2 opportunities. I could have went to Wofford and worked there with a full-time job, or go to Appalachian State and be an intern. That seemed to be the better option for me, and I think it was the better option still to this day. It's a bigger school, provided some opportunities and experiences that I wouldn't have had at a smaller FCS school. And I don't need to speak to Appalachian too much because you're familiar. We're the same size here. A historic program there that has a lot of students and a good influx of revenue off sports to be able to invest in the broadcasting side of things, just like here. So I would never tell you not to take an opportunity like that, for sure, just based off my experience. And that opened the door. My intern year, I was able to interview at 5 or 6 pretty big schools that some of them didn't work out. Some of them offered me way too late. Already said yes to obviously here, because here I am. But intern year, if you have to go that route and go to paid internship, is not a bad road to go down. So don't turn that away if offered, especially at a bigger university. I'm sure Dan has some friends at some big places or knows somebody he can call to help open doors for some people, to at least give you a shot. You just got to go in there and work your butt off. That's what I try to do here. It's what I still try to do here. You know, I'm not trying to just get by and do the very little. You guys are in sports, so you understand it's not a 9 to 5 kind of thing. You're here all day, sometimes a lot of week. I can only imagine how much Dan's worked in the past month. I've had 2 60-hour weeks in a row. I only get paid for 42, so welcome to working for a state school. Yeah, I feel like I'm just talking. So you guys ask some questions here. What do you want to know? Do you want to know about marketing and broadcast some more? Yes. I think it's vital the way marketing from an in-venue standpoint and school standpoint plays with broadcasting. There's a lot of things that go into play, especially timing, and that's something, you know, we try to be better at each and every game. But with TV games, it's very important. Dan could speak to that with ESPN because he probably received many reminders of when we're supposed to kick for a football game, especially when you're on ESPN. You know, those are some harsh times. They build in some sliders, so up to an hour pregame, they can actually slide us up to 10 minutes if the game before us doesn't seem like it's going to finish in time. And that's something, as on the marketing side, you gotta be open to, because, you know, they push a 10-minute slide, then you're sliding everything else pregame because you're just going to stand on the field for 10 minutes and twiddle your thumbs? Not really a solution coaches are going to be okay with. So I think it's the coordination there, and communication is very needed to execute well, especially on the TV side, because from the TV standpoint, I have my whole pregame scheduled out. I know what my announcers are talking about for every second before we kick a ball or shoot a basketball or whatever it is. Especially me, myself, I'm a very kind of like scheduled and OCD kind of guy. I like everything to be, I know what we're doing, when we're doing it, very organized. And you have to be in TV, because if you're not, you're just putting a camera out there with people talking. Broadcasting sometimes seems simple, but there's a story. Soccer is a little hard to sell sometimes, especially in the United States. It's a growing sport, but it's getting there. So how do we make it more entertaining? How do we bring the information to the viewer? So pregame, you know, we look at the storylines, look at, you know, what the standings are, either preseason with the poll or once we get in season, especially late, what matters there. You know, we typically look at lineups pregame and all that is going at the same time the marketing stuff's going. So player intros, national anthem, that kind of stuff, and it all kind of feeds off each other, because I know what I'm doing and when we're supposed to kick, and then Dan or whoever's in charge of the marketing for that sport knows, well, Collin's supposed to kick at 7:05 with TV. So they know, hey, well, maybe we need to do the anthem by this moment to have this done by this moment. We need to make sure that player intros are done by a certain time as well. It all plays into each other, because from the TV side of it, it's kind of in an unwritten rule. We don't like to show anthems at this level, you know, not our thing. So we try to coordinate the best we can. And sometimes things happen, you know, coaches will slow things down. Players not motivated to go stand in line or something. It's just some stuff you got to play with. Again, you guys are used to sports. Things aren't the same every day, all day. You could have a soccer game go without a hitch yesterday, and then tomorrow it could be a disaster. So it's, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with it the right way? And how do you prepare for the next one? Questions on that? I feel like I rambled for a long time, guys. You gotta give me something here. Somebody ask a question. Anybody? Dan, Cameron, one of these people. Oh, yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Hi, Collin. I'm Karia. I do marketing for women's soccer. And I guess my question would be, like, what's your, like, day-to-day? Like, how do you, like things that you do every other day?
I wish I could give you a better answer on that. More so just because, I'm not just attached to a certain sport. Um, we broadcast all the major sports from the university, and I'm in charge of all those. So week to week, it kind of changes. This week's definitely a lot different than last week because we had a women's soccer game yesterday. We have a women's soccer game on Thursday, 3 volleyball games this weekend, and a men's soccer game on Friday or Saturday. So I'm already planning for all of those. Like I have to have a plan of what I want to do. I have to coordinate with our team to make sure we have camera operators so we can have people in the control room. There is a little bit of structure to my life. I do produce our TV show that airs on WJCL on Saturdays at 11:30. So I spend Tuesdays preparing for that pretty much. We go shoot a stand-up with Danny Reed and Collin Lacey at the football stadium during the fall. And then usually spend all day Wednesday putting that TV show together. So getting highlights from games, VOs from people. There's a lot of other stuff. I just gonna bore you if I tell you all that stuff. But then there's the regular stuff. So, once I get taking care of the TV show, especially Thursday morning, my priority is going to shift to the broadcast. So preparing for that soccer game. What are my storylines for the soccer game? Then go into graphics, make sure I have graphics. We'll do a season standings kind of thing or a preseason poll. We're far enough in, it'll probably be season standings at this point. So I have to have that prepared. Sunbelt puts out a news and notes. I usually do a graphic on just talking about, player of the weeks and that kind of thing. Not to mention, we have a home series against App State in volleyball this weekend. It's our first volleyball of the year, so there's a lot of prep from the graphics and production side that we have to do that I'll probably have to knock out Thursday since that's a 11 a.m. tip on Friday morning, 12 p.m. One of those two. So I hope that answers that. Like I said, there's not a lot of each week it's the same kind of thing. Sometimes I wish there was, but I think it plays a little, and that's why I work in college sports. It doesn't really ever get boring. I think last week's a good example. Spent the whole week preparing for a football game, and then Friday at 10:30, they decided to pull that out from under us. And you just gotta live with the punches sometimes, but that's the kind of stuff that happens in this career field. And I think if you're going to work in it, you have to be prepared for those last minute changes. Or I would assume from a marketing side with the video board, especially at football, somebody coming to Dan or whoever a couple days out from a game, like, hey, we need to run this. And then Dan's kind of refiguring out his whole halftime show to fit some video to accommodate the president or something like that to keep people happy and keep paychecks coming. I do see a question from Kashawn. Challenging task I deal with on a weekly basis. I would say TV show is one of them. I have to deliver a TV show. I don't have really an option on that. So it's a good bit of stress in my life, just making sure I have content for that. We have our TV show in 5 segments almost. We start with a pregame, or we start with a recap from this past week's game. We do a segment on some integral part of the university. We call it a Georgia Southern story. So we usually do that on a coach, or we did Jared Benko last week, did a bio on him. Then we go to Olympic sports recap. And then Coach's Corner, we sit down with the coach each week, head coach, and kind of just talk about things with them. Then a football recap. And so one of my challenging tasks is if we don't play a football game on Saturday that gets canceled on Friday, I got a whole segment of a TV show I need to figure out what to do with. And that plays into, again, just rolling with the punches of kind of how college sports run. Most challenging task from a producing standpoint, timing's one of them. Because we go on air at a certain time. We're supposed to kick at a certain time. We have commercial breaks that are going a certain time. Soccer is an easier one just because most of you are aware, once you start kicking a ball, you don't really stop kicking it for 45 minutes. So not a lot of things on the producer side during soccer, but you get to, say, baseball. We got a half inning. I'm taking a commercial break every half inning. So it's making sure I get that in while also making sure they wait the whole 90 seconds and somebody at the baseball stadium is not letting these people start playing before I'm back from a TV show. That's the things I stress about at night. or a TV commercial break, sorry. So we're hitting the timing a lot, but that is a thing for a producer, is just hitting all that timing, even in show. We have a 15-minute halftime in soccer. I have that 15 minutes like dialed deep in a schedule of what we're seeing each minute, how long commercial breaks are lasting, what we're going to do each segment, and relying on everything to go copacetic as soccer at the same time. So, I'm not in a camera shot of the field and then somebody's doing donuts on the soccer field or something. So it's those kind of things. I hope that answered that question. Who else? Anybody else?
Good question.
Yes.
What was the hardest part about your transition from ETSU to App State?
Not much. We Johnson City is only an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours from Boone, so it wasn't a big geographical relocation for me, which was nice. I like the mountains, so I fit in very well to that kind of scenery. But there was some challenges of going from being a student to being a full-time employee. The weirdest thing to me, honestly, was first day of classes. I'm on campus and all these other people are, and they're walking. And I'm like, oh, time to go to class. Wait a second. I don't have to do that anymore. So that was a weird day right out of college. But that transition was pretty smooth. I wish that internship would have lasted a little longer. Another year would have been fun to be up there, but I left there to come here. And I don't regret that decision. It's been fun. It's been a ride. I'm getting used to Statesboro and this Georgia heat's been a transition, but I hope that answers that question a little bit there. Have I thought of broadcasting professionally? How do you mean? You want to?
Probably like NFL, pro sports.
Oh, producing at the higher level? Yeah, I think that's a dream for anybody in my spot. If you're looking at 5-10-year plan when you're probably at this level, your next goal is probably to get at like an SEC level, ACC level, or probably be a lower entry type job at a high level, NASCAR, NHL, NFL, those type things. But it's also weird how that works because, just because CBS is putting on a game doesn't mean CBS is putting on a game. We have contractors who we pay to bring in big trucks. They have crews. There's actually unions in our field. There's a camera operator union, directors union, producers union. So there's a lot in play once you get to that level. But that's the steps. The step hopefully is ACC, SEC, somewhere in that level. Power 5, and then take that step. I'm a big NASCAR fan, which judge me if you need to, but maybe that's the dream, is go working and traveling with NASCAR for whatever. I have a friend who lives in Nashville. He works for their soccer team. Sound, is that what they are? Somebody can fix that if not, or whatever their pro soccer team is. But and I got friends in the industry who are looking for those opportunities for me as well. I've told them I have interest. And that's one of those, when those doors open, you just got to jump at it and know if that's the right move for you to take. I would recommend not jumping job to job. A bunch of 1 years on the resume is not going to look good. We just went through a hiring where we hired a new producer, and half of our applicants, they had 3-4 jobs on their thing, but they only been there like a year or a year and a couple months, and that just doesn't look good from a stability standpoint, because we're not at this level in this profession. You're not expected to be here for 5-10 years. But we do want somebody who can contribute for 2, 3, maybe 4, so that we have some sense of the same thing kind of happening. Somebody to teach somebody new when they come in. So be prepared for that first couple jobs. Spend 2-3 years there, even if it does kind of suck at first. I'll tell you, when I first got here, there was a few times that I wanted to pack up and go somewhere else, but I didn't. It's just part of taking a full-time job and the responsibilities that came with that, and just kind of pushing through, I think is the best way to say that. But yeah, hopefully that answered that question.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the most you've ever seen something go wrong during a broadcast?
Oh boy. So as broadcast engineer, my job is to make sure that doesn't happen. But I have been working in places where it has. There was a moment where we totally lost internet and ESPN dropped our show, which wasn't good. You know, people are trying to watch, and people are trying to watch, and all of a sudden just disappears. That's not a good thing. 2 years ago, before our Georgia State basketball game, I called into ESPN at 6 o'clock. They were seeing everything. It looked good. 6:35, they called me and said they lost our feed. So that was a bit of a scramble. You know, that close to game time, I'm less of an engineer, more of a producer. But you know, with the flip of the switch, I have to go in and try to figure out what happened. Somehow a cable came loose somewhere, somehow. Bigger scenarios, working NASCAR a couple years ago. I think it was 3 at this point. Somebody forgot to put fans in one of our rack units that was stationed outside. And August race in Tennessee gets a little hot, about 100 degrees. But the whole cabinet actually overheated, and we lost our replay, graphics, and our router, which was not good. You're talking, it was probably close to $300,000 worth of equipment just stopped working in the middle of a race. So that was a bit of a snafu, and had to call some things in to get them overnighted to us to get that fixed before the next race. But things go wrong, just like even at this level. And it's one of those, just rolling, not necessarily rolling with the punches, but how do you deal with it? You know, there's going to be pressure in those situations, but keep a calm head and know the steps you need to take to fix it are the important ones, who to call. And I'll say that too, is, you know, making the connections even now with all of you 16, 20 people you got here, you know, keep up with each other. You never know when somebody's going to get that job somewhere else. And you're like, hey, remember we worked together at Georgia Southern. And not saying that's going to get you the job, but it can't hurt you. Keep connections, meet new people, try to reach out. You know, there's many Slack groups and professional, you know, groups that I assume marketing at college has for you to reach out to the other people, make friends, even a mentor-mentee kind of thing. Like, hey, you know, find somebody to give you some feedback on some things. I'm not quite sure, because I'm not a marketing guy, how that works at the marketing level, but, you know, broadcasts, I have friends who I send broadcasts to, and they're like, just tell them, hey, if you can watch this for me, just give me some feedback on things we could have done a little better, a little differently. And I assume that's the same for marketing. You know, you can send scripts or kind of what your game plans are and that kind of thing, and feed off one another and get that feedback. Never be closed-minded to feedback. I think it's the most important thing you can have as a young professional, is accepting somebody's criticism, and how do you move forward? How do you get better? How do you try to excel at what you're doing without making those same mistakes? And I have some mentorees, even college students now, that I tell them, like, hey, you know, especially once we get through a broadcast, let's identify what we did wrong. That probably fits for most things, you know, debrief post game, what went wrong, what went right, what can you do to fix those issues so next game you don't have them. I mean, I tell them, especially, you know, first couple games, that mistakes are going to happen. Don't ever think mistakes aren't going to happen, but it's how do you adjust? How do you fix what you did and avoid those in the future? I feel like I got like way off track on that question, but hopefully that answered it.
Collin, I know that you guys employ or have a lot of intern student workers, probably just as many as we have. Talk a little bit about what, you know, an intern student would expect or do in a role working for you guys.
Yeah. So we do have, I think 20 is probably about the same you guys have, as student workers. They're kind of divvied up. Some are more post-production type, where they're editors and stuff like that. We only have a few of those. We have a subsection of talent, so people who call games or color on games. And then we have our more broadcasty people who are either camera operators in a control room type setting, that kind of thing. And really, you know, we approached it at first of, you know, what are your interests? What do you want to do? Everybody, especially when they're like freshman, sophomore that we hire, they kind of start with everybody else. Even say you want to be a play-by-play guy, you still kind of have to earn your way there. You know, just because that's what you want to do doesn't mean you're going to hop in there and do it. And it even builds you kind of as a sports kind of person to, hey, go run. You're going to run camera for a game. Helps you understand a game, get used to a game, but also appreciate those little jobs along the way. So when you're on CBS calling a game, you know the cameraman is not just a cameraman. He's working some magic down there. So it's identifying strengths is a big thing we do with our students. What are they good at? What do they want to do? And trying to fill holes. Train them to fill holes. You know, like I said, we have mentees. So we're the mentors, the full-time guys and girl. And we have a group that we talk with on a weekly basis. We go over things, assign some homework, especially now because we weren't having a lot of events going on there for a little bit. So a lot of us, we assign, hey, go watch the football game this weekend. This is what your job would be. Take notes. What do you notice? What do you, it's hard to criticize somebody that's working an NFL broadcast, but, you know, what do you think they did wrong? What do you think you could do because you watched this game? Did you notice any camera movements or stuff like that? Follow anybody? So that's something we talk about with them, and still try to grow, because even though we're full-time employees, you know, we're still growing ourselves. You know, I'm training 2 full-time people right now how to do another position in our control room. So teaching doesn't stop even when you get out of college. But, you know, we're actively seeking feedback from our students of, you know, what they're trying to learn, what they want to learn. And again, you know, just because you're going to be a play-by-play guy, or that's what you want to do, doesn't mean we're going to put you in the seat. You kind of have to earn your way to that seat, or at least prove that you have the chops. Because just because you think you can call a soccer game doesn't mean you can call a soccer game by any means. But it helps, you know, running camera, you get familiar with sports maybe you're not as familiar with. I hate basketball, but it's probably one of my stronger broadcasts, surprisingly. I understand it enough to make it a good broadcast, what's going to happen. Anticipation is a big skill set that we try to teach our students too. And I'd probably be good for you guys, especially in sports like marketing and stuff, anticipating when things are going to happen. From a producing standpoint, I know under certain minute marks that I'm going to have a commercial break. That's the same with football. So I know, hey, we're under 8 minutes. We're going to have a commercial break here. This is what we got to do. And then we try to even build those instincts into our camera operators of, hey, you know, he's going to break away. You need to follow him, get the slam dunk, and then follow him back across. Again, that's technical talk, so I don't know if all you guys are going to get that, but that's kind of what goes into our students. You know, we got 20 of them, freshmen all the way up to seniors and graduate students. We're just trying to get better and maybe find a way in the field.
Hey, Collin. Quick question. So how did you know this was like the career you wanted to do? Did you do different internships, you know, as an undergrad? Did you do like your marketing internship or your ops and was like, hey, this isn't for me? And then you got into broadcasting and you realized this was something that you wanted to do?
Yeah. Surprisingly, I started college as a pre-physical therapy major. That was the road I thought I wanted to go down at that point. But then I took biology class and we had a horrid teacher. So I decided to go other way. And that's kind of what sparked it. At that point, I went into advertising and marketing myself. Got an on-campus job doing what pretty much I do now with our broadcasting stuff. I did change my major a little bit to focus on that. I do have a minor in advertising and associate's degree in it, but I would say since then, since like sophomore, junior year of college, I really ignited my interest in doing this. I knew I played sports all my life, so I wanted to do something with it. If playing in college wasn't going to be the option I chose, I wanted to be around it some way. Hence why I wanted to go physical therapy, still kind of around sports and that kind of stuff. But this, I don't feel like I'm playing, but I have that closeness with the sports, with the athletes, with the coaches. Still feel involved and getting to make stories for some of our student athletes that otherwise wouldn't get made. And that's really what a broadcast too is, a giant story that you don't know the ending of until you know the ending of it. So hopefully that answers that. I would say college, and it changes too. Like I said, I started freshman year wanting to do one thing, and then halfway through went a whole nother route. That freshman year I didn't even see as a possibility, but it opened doors for me. Had those had the job offer and internship out of college. Chose the internship just because it was a little better. It didn't pay nearly as well, but it was the right move, obviously, because here I am 3 years deep into this job and still doing it. Haven't given up yet. They move all the sports to the spring. We'll see what I say in May or June next year. Oh, got another question. How has COVID affected your day-to-day operations? It's been a pain, I'll say that. We shooting stand-ups and interviews and stuff like that has definitely gotten a lot more complicated. If we're gonna have masks off, I need to make sure people are at least 6 feet away. But if you're interviewing people, it's kind of hard for somebody 10 feet away to really talk without yelling at the other person. So there's challenges there. In the control room, we have to all have masks on, make sure there's not too many people in there, plastic dividers between people that are sitting next to each other. The harder part of it all is probably gear. Again, we have 20-something students. I know you're college students, and I know you just don't sit on your couch every day. So I got to account for the possible germs you could be bringing in. Clean our gear post-game. It's not all spray with Lysol and walk away. Some of it has to be wiped. We have a UV light that we have to pass over stuff that can't get wiped. So we're adding an extra probably hour post-game just trying to disinfect everything and making sure for next game we're not reintroducing germs from somebody else into somebody else's work area. Whether in college or outside, what helped most when looking for jobs, internships? Knowing where to look is probably the big thing. It's not like you can just go to Craigslist and find a broadcast engineer job. There's certain places to look, certain job boards. In our career field, we have a group called Sports Video Group, kind of the industry kind of people. We have conventions and stuff like that. They have a job board that they post things, so that's a regular place I look. If you're trying to stay in college, higheredjobs.com, I think is the website. They post a lot of college level jobs, anywhere from small community college up to Power 5. That's a good place to look for anybody trying to stay at this level. I honestly was looking the other day and I've seen quite a few marketing and athletics positions. NCAA job board, I think they have a website as well. College jobs mainly. Teamwork Online is another good one if you're trying to stay in the sports field. They post jobs from everywhere. Pro teams, colleges, anybody and everybody that probably could post a job in the athletic world probably lands on that website or close to it. Indeed's not a bad one either. I think that's what that one is. It doesn't seem like probably a normal place for a high level job like that, but it's definitely an avenue to keep open. And sometimes you just got to go to college. If you're interested in working at a specific college, just go to their website, see what they have to offer, see what jobs are listed. Conferences are not a bad option to work for either. Hopefully that answers that question. It also depends on where you want to live. In college, I really told myself I never wanted to live anywhere below Tennessee because it just gets way too damn hot. Here I am in Savannah, which some days feels like the hottest place on the planet. But but you just kind of got to go where your opportunities are sometimes too. But don't go somewhere that you know is going to make you unhappy. I think it's the biggest part of that. If you just know you're going to hate your life there, then it's not really worth, because then you're just not going to have the right mindset to be successful at that job. Anybody else? I see a lot of eyes staring at me. Cameron, Danny, Daniel, anything?
If no one else has any questions, then just want to say thank you for jumping on. I think, me personally, I learned a lot about what you do, and especially, kind of your side of how you work with our department. So appreciate you for jumping on. I know that it's been a good experience. So I hope it was worth it for you as well.
Yeah, hopefully I didn't ramble too much, but good to see all your faces. I'll probably see everybody some way, somehow. I see Cameron and Dan almost on a daily basis sometimes, it seems. But Karia, we exchanged some emails the other day about soccer, so semi-familiar with you. Surely I'll meet everybody else before we get to the end of baseball season, if we get to that point. Fingers crossed. Baseball is a fun sport.
When we get to that point, Collin.
When we get
Not if, when.
I grew up in Boston, so I'm a big Fenway or Red Sox fan. So baseball's my favorite. I like to get there.
I'm a Tigers fan, so I don't like to hear that.
Hey, I go to Braves game when the Red Sox come into town. They're a good National League team. Cool, guys. I appreciate you guys having me. Any questions, Dan or Cameron can probably get you my email and you can shoot one over and I'll try to get back to you guys